No changes for England after the half-time break. Japan have changed a couple in their front row. They have got issues to address at the set-piece scrummage. Kenta Matsuoka is on at hooker, and Kajiro Tamafusa is the new tight head prop. Takeuchi and Lee making way. This, by the way, the most number of points in the first half under Steve Borthwick for England, beating the tally that they clocked up against the Chileans at the Rugby World Cup. 35 points to 7. Steve Borthwick with a number of objectives today. A clear identity, to play with speed and to finish games off. So at least a couple of those are well on the way to being achieved. Question, I suppose, most interestingly, will be at what point he deploys the numbers from the bench. That's not the best of kicks to start this second 40. There's a number of players who'll be wanting some game time, needless to say. Everybody's keen to see Asha Opoku-Fojo and the likes of Finn Smith. Tom Roebuck will relish the opportunity of running in a little bit of space as the game opens up, you would imagine, still further. Japan needs something early here for their state of mind as much as for anything else, you would think.
Yes. Still got advantage now.
Saito to Himeno. Captain during the Rugby World Cup in France last year.
Okay, nothing's coming from there, lads. Back for the penalty.
But Japan just with that issue of not being able to get any metres in the contact at the moment.
A little bit of balance now inside that 22. Nice little dab through by McCurran. Oh, Naikambula might be onto this. And across came Smith in the nick of time. Curry drops on it. And England's scrambling well, ultimately.
Japan lead 4. Your own leg is there, lads.
You've got to be careful there not to let the ball go over the line, because then it ceases to be a ruck and you can dive through. Done well there.
Thank you.
Borthwick has to be very careful with that and see where he's positioned the ball now. Usually would have it a bit further back on the back foot.
That's a great kick. Really good kick under that amount of pressure.
McCurran thinking about the quick one.
No problem, thank you.
It's a great little kick through here. Smith does really well because he's high up in the line, spins, and he hasn't got any of the advantages there.
There's the mark, look.
He's a little bit
England
slower to turn,
yes.
but he wins the race back, and more importantly, gets that left shoulder across the path.
Shimokawa lifted up for Japan, and first meaningful drive really from the Japanese. Saito for Fifita, this hard-running centre. Sets the target well, the ball is quick. Extraordinary statistic that in the Pacific Nations Cup they were recycling the ball at a rate of knots, an average of 2.6 seconds from the ruck into a new pair of hands, and the process is continuing here. Shimokawa with the latest carry. Himeno.
You can't
Another
dive
penalty
from the ruck.
Against England.
Within 1 metre, you can't dive in a ball.
Much better starting from Japan, isn't it? Really trying to get that tempo into the game. Got a bit of traction with their carries there.
What would you like?
Their ruck speed is good.
Nine, what would you like? Okay.
Takuro Matsunaga measures this one up for the corner.
England.
Pressurised throw for the new hooker, Matsuoka. England are going to compete hard. Toji went to go up before the whistle went.
Space to compete. No, step off the line. No, step off the line. On you, thank you.
A couple of big Fijian targets there in the middle in Wanga and Louis Viti. Oh, what a good jump from Itoji. He's stolen it from under their noses. Van Poortvliet deliberately keeps this in play. On halfway, across comes Matsunaga. And runs into Freeman. Earl in there as well, defensively. To the short side, to Shimokawa. 3 English defenders there.
Release. Thank you.
Saito. Space opening up here for Wanga. Oh dear. It all looks so promising. Cunningham South retrieves the situation for England.
Back for the scrum.
And they'll have the scrummage.
It's a smart little move here. You see the first runner comes hard back against the grain. And it's Ellis Genge who steps in with him, and that opens up the hole.
Potentially.
Wanga goes through it, but all in one hand. Maybe a bit damp still on the grass and on the ball. It's in. Oh. Marcus Smith will be telling everyone, yeah, he just got scared running out there.
Petrified, wasn't he? Absolutely petrified. I think Genge there just overreads it, steps in. I think Earl's got that line. Earl's got it covered. He's got to hold your zones. Not hold your own, hold your zone.
So I wonder whether the Japanese reinforcements will make a difference to their scrum capacity. Well, we're not going to get to see a free kick awarded to England.
Closing the space.
Early engagement by the look of things from Japan.
Did wonder whether England would say, let's have another scrum. Try and win a penalty to give them field position, but Marcus Smith's going to put this into the air. Big kick chase.
Not the worst of tactics, given the conditions, a swirling wind and some awkward drizzle. It's taken in by Makisi. And Japan trying to play out of their own half now. Fifita turns and presents. Curran finding some width for Riley. And a first sight really of Osada today. Clattering forwards and a really good tackle made by Marcus Smith. Curran running into trouble. And another drop ball in the midfield. England off the hook. And the Japanese handling, letting them down at crucial moments.
There's no one in the backfield for the kick.
Tommy Freeman sends it up.
Kicked it out, has
He's booted out on the full.
This again is an example of England. It's just a fraction of a hesitation. Slade goes, and Slade is used to this style of defending with Exeter, so he flies. Just England are a little bit hesitant behind. Sligo sees it, starts to go, pauses, then accelerates, and ends up missing a tackle of a guy running around his outside shoulder. It's just not quite clicking for them yet. It's not far off, but how long do you give it? You're not playing with each other week in, week out for the rest of the season to develop this.
No space here. Plays in too early.
It's a disaster.
Space.
Quite frankly, currently, defensively, it's a disaster. Slade is putting his wingers under so much pressure, but he's been put under pressure by the style of defence. You've already made 15 metres of line speed. Why'd you then give them the opportunity to break you? You've done the job. You've pushed them back territorially. All you've got to do then is hold your position, stay connected, use the touchline. If you want to run round us, have a go. You're not running around the outside of Sligo unless he's got his back turned to you.
Well, it remains a conundrum for Steve Borthwick to solve. Joe Alabd is the man in charge of England's defence. Of course, he's inherited the mantle from Felix Jones, who departed. And I just wonder if that dislocation that happened over the summer, the departure of Jones and the arrival of Alabd has caused these problems.
You know, people say, well, they're all professional players, they should be able to react to, but aside from anything, that's not the style of system that Joe coaches. So his authenticity when he's trying to sell it to the players is, well, how come you've not been using it before if it's that good? So he has inherited something. I think after this they will have a debrief and go, look, is this the best way forward? And there's nothing wrong with trying new systems. That's how teams move on and get better. But at some point you've got to say, do we cut our losses and say this isn't as good as what we were doing, and in which case you revert back to what you're doing, or do you persevere with it hoping that the players, the more they play together, the more they train together, get the hang of it. But it's so high risk, so high reward. If you can't do that, you could be a year down the line going, actually, we should have changed our defence back.
About a year ago. But I think the major problem with it is Slade is your man who's in control. And he's not as quick as Ollie Lawrence. If Ollie Lawrence spots that, he's 2 yards further forward as the pass is getting there. The number of times, and watch the rest of the game, it might not happen again, but maybe watch the game back. And the 3 breaks that we've seen from Japan have all been Slade being slightly late, but he recognises he's late, so then he goes midfield and he ends up doing neither. So just watch them back and see, actually, if you were in that shirt, if you're a rugby player or you understand the game, what would you have done?
Some changes have been made here. Harry Randall's on at 9 for Jack van Poortvliet. And Japan have won a scrum penalty. And just look what it means.
Never forward.
Big old celebrations from the Brave Blossoms, because that marks quite a considerable turnaround in events from the set piece.
Christmas has come early for the Japanese pack.
I think Ben Gunter's probably pretty upset that the referee blew the whistle, because he was careering under the sticks if the whistle hadn't gone.
On the line.
You can see it's a good decision. Stewart got compromised there. Underneath, Eddie Jones loves it. Neil Hatley loves it even more. And they love it the most.
And they've secured line-out ball here as well through Louis Viti. The other change England made, by the way, Luke Cowan-Dickie for the captain, Jamie George at hooker.
Same ball. Play 3 away, and 1, please.
Okay, Japan go to ground.
Step back.
And now they can play.
Use.
Nakambula is hovering. And Fafita is heading back to the traffic, and he's not quite held, actually, by George Martin, so he makes the most of that opportunity. Takes Japan another couple of metres forward.
Balls there, leave it, Red. Balls there.
Shimokawa driven to the ground.
Counter-ruck is good.
And the ball popped out for Akabe. England ready and waiting, shooting off the line. McCurran tries to draw the sting from that line speed, dabs it forwards, and Furbank calls for the mark and wallops it clear.
Smart from Furbank, really quick reaction. Gets good distance on his kick, takes all the pressure that England have been under for the last 2 minutes or so off his forwards, gives them a bit of a breather to get back into position, and now trying to attack this line out.
It's highly unlikely that England are going to lose this game, is it? Finn Smith sat on the bench. A lot of people want to see what he's like in an England shirt. He hasn't been given a decent run. We know how good Smith is. Could they potentially play together? That's the other conversation. I'd like to see him sooner rather than later, wouldn't you? I'm sure all the Saints fans would.
It may be that Marcus Smith moves to fullback to accommodate his namesake, potentially. In the meantime, McCurran for Japan, and they've worked it clear for Nakambula. Freeman does enough, and Lawrence is in there, manfully holding up the man in the challenge. Great punch forward to the 10-metre line. Fafita has worked hard in the carry, trying to find the corner of the English defence here, Japan. So Ito pops it off the floor. Wanga clattered in the tackle. Itoje says, I'll have that. And England are back in possession.
Use it.
Just can't hold on to it for long enough, the Japanese at the moment. Smith wants territory, and he'll take that for the time being.
Oh, I mean, what are we doing? You turn them over in midfield, you've got decent ball, you've got 6 guys outside you, and the guy, the genius of Marcus Smith, kicks the ball 15 metres into touch and gives possession straight back to Japan. I mean, am I the only one getting frustrated?
I doubt that very much. I think, given Smith's natural attacking instincts, it seemed like a curious decision.
You're the only one on a lot of things, but not being frustrated by that.
Change at lock for Japan. Daichi Akiyama on for Sanaida Wanga. And off comes Ellis Genge,
Time on.
which means Finn Baxter is with us, the young Harlequin.
Over the 15.
This one will fall for Cowan-Dickie. This is Slade now, assessing the options. Freeman on the move, Naikambula's under pressure. Freeman has it. Oh, that's a bit of special. Just a little bit special. Furbank goes in. Freeman with the sleight of hand. His teammates can barely believe it.
Well, the pressure from the line out from that great call from Marcus Smith to take the field position. Turns the ball over, and as they spread to the wide channel, that Northampton Saints combination. Ball thrown over the top. Cowan-Dickie reacts quickest, puts the ball into the wide channel. The nudge through from Henry Slade, and then that's brilliant. But equally, the knowledge from Furbank that it's coming. He knows exactly what his Northampton Saints teammate's going to do. And he maintains his foot speed and just has enough fingertips on it to drag it with him and score the try.
It's better, isn't it? It's opportunity. Take your opportunity. They're few and far between in international rugby. The wind's got hold of that kick from Smith. But even when you're not expecting it, if you go wide, it is the best place currently to find space. He does so well, Freeman, to get to the ball first. Lovely piece of skill, as Ben said.
Smith has come on for Furbank, so you'd imagine Finn Smith's actually gone back into the fullback position for now. Whether that will change. Marcus Smith waiting to take that high drop kick from the centre.
And the new man, Asha Opoku-Fojo, making his debut, shooting star of the prop world as we see Japan stick the restart out on the full. Huge potential, this man, 20 years old, ridiculously strong and capable of playing both sides of the scrum. Interestingly, he's deployed at tight head, where he's come on here today for England by his club, Sale Sharks. But at England age group level, he's been on the other side, on the loose head, and props who can do that are like gold dust. High hopes in a position England have not had a great deal of depth over recent times. They've now got a succession of players who are beginning to put their hands up. Afo Fasogbon, Billy Saylor, and this man here.
He's certainly got a lot of power.
Ball's out.
Very awkward one for Randall to deal with. Slade's onto it and sending that forwards. Craig Evans right in line with that.
Forward.
Yes, Marcus Smith looks like he might be heading back towards fullback.
Ball came clearly out.
The question, he undoubtedly, we've seen Marcus, in fact, when Marcus Smith's been on, when George Ford has come on, he's actually found some of his best attacking rugby from breaking with a bit more time. But with the new laws around the kick chase and the lack of being able to have escorts to protect your fullback at the back, does that work against Marcus Smith playing in that position against a side like a South Africa that we know can compete in those areas very, very effectively?
I think that last bit of that sentence is the important bit, isn't it? Who's the opposition? And on a day like today, you can put him there without fear or favour. He might think twice against a team like the South Africans. Forward here from Japan again, and the handling not quite on point enough to put England under genuine pressure.
Just one of the things, though, Ali, about him moving back. He missed that tackle against Australia. He stepped in, he was out of position, he found himself in the wrong spot when he got there. Just watching that piece of play there, nice little carry in the midfield. Watch him, he'll just come into shot now. On the outside, you'll see him in a second. There he is, he's out of position. He's in the wrong spot there because the pendulum hasn't worked round. So if there's nobody at all in straight behind for the kick, then he gets in that place a little bit too early for me. That's something he can learn, something that more experience back there, but it's very, very difficult. You're the last line of defence and you're already 10 metres in the wrong place.
Randall away to Slade. A little bit more careful on this pass, and Smith is dummying and moving and offloading really nicely. Slade again. Earl
Never onside, advantage.
began the scoring for England today. Japan caught
Timing
offside. Lawrence. Itoje. Finn Smith. Nice line cut by Cunningham South. Randall. Slight home. Itoje holds it back for Smith. It's gone forwards from Martin.
You already
And,
see
they had the advantage.
seeing the slightly different
Never back
style
onside.
between the two Smiths. Marcus Smith tends to have a little bit more time on the ball himself. He'll delay his pass. He'll see what the defenders are doing. He'll try and drag them out of the defensive line. Finn Smith is very much a get it through his hands quickly. When it's on to go himself, he'll go. But you just see his ability, as you know, with Northampton, they like to play into that wide channel really, really quickly. And his ability to play to options out the back, play to options wide, is slightly different to Marcus Smith.
It was good though, wasn't it? The shape was quite nice because they were both involved. They're both getting the ball out the back or standing as a first receiver. I think it makes life a lot easier for your forward carries if they've got more options off that first receiver rather than just being told to bulldoze the ball off one pass from 9.
And that was what they were offering up against South Africa in the last 20.
Yeah, bit more shape.
Good line out ball, 5 metres out. Cowan Dickey sensing an opportunity here. Wrestling forward for another score. Brute force from the replacement hooker. Try number 7.
It's a really good score and finish from Cowan Dickey. The ball breaks down because it's immediately sacked by Japan. First man in's allowed to pull it over as the tackler, as long as no one else joins. I think there are some bodies in there. Craig Evans maybe just giving Japan the benefit of the doubt, but as Cowan Dickey rolls out, 3 Japanese defenders there, and he bounces and ducks his head, gets underneath them, puts his hand on the floor, and then eventually twists and turns his way through to the line. Really powerful carry.
That's where he's so good, isn't he? His low centre of gravity, 5 metres out, ability to keep his feet moving forward. There's not many people around the world who would have scored that try in that position.
Back to something like his very best, Luke Cowan Dickey, after a very difficult time with injuries. His first try, in fact, for England in four long years. So this will feel good. And particularly another of those who was talking in the week about the disappointment from a week ago, the dummy line out at a key moment against the box that cost England so dear.
The way the game's refereed now, he's a nightmare to tackle, because he's so, as Austin says, so good at staying on his feet when his forehead's a couple of inches off the floor. So just that late dip means if you try and put a big shot on him, there's a risk of hitting his head. Players are wary of that. They stand off him a little bit too much.
Yeah, sorry.
All action carry from the sail hooker.
A raft of replacements have been made by Eddie Jones for Japan. Henry Slade is making way as well, which means Tom Roebuck is on the field. And Morikawa at loose head for Japan. Fujiwara has also come on,
England has carried back,
I believe, at scrum half.
Boswell, use it.
And Tavita Tatafu
Use 9, back.
into the back row. Who wants this? Roebuck was after it. It's gone forwards, and Japan might be able to conjure something here from the 10-metre line. Fujiwara whips it away. This is Tatafu. Plays his rugby in Bordeaux in the French top 14.
Timing's good.
Floated across the face of that English defence, and
Release.
Smith makes the tackle. Can Japan hold on to it for long enough to stress those English defenders? Up they come again in a hurry. Fujiwara, quick transfer. Tatafu, what an offload, that's magnificent. Stellar stuff. And Osada is brought down by Smith.
Don't pull him in, use.
Curran waits to the left. Instead, rumbling through the middle is Morikawa, and this is a fine score for Himeno. Japan have their second, and the replacements really making their presence felt.
That's a really nice work try. Comes from the offload originally. England think they've numbered up defensively, but gets his hands free. And Chicken wins it out the back door. And once they're in behind, they don't panic. Good tackle from Marcus Smith. But here, it's just a little bit lazy between Cunningham South and Martin, isn't it? Don't really go up with any line speed. And the finish, as you said, really, really good. And Himeno slides in for his score.
Takuro Matsunaga taking over the kicking duties. All good.
As Ben said, George Martin actually gets back into a really good position. There he is. Look, he's in exactly the right spot now, but he sees something on the outside. Watch his head turn. He thinks, right, I've got to go and cover that. He's looking out, looking back in. He ends up being 5 yards just in the wrong place. It's an easy line eventually, isn't it? It's a good finish, but how good was the break and the tackle from Marcus Smith?
There was great space.
I mean, real gas through the middle from Asada. They deserve the try, Japan, actually. They played some nice little phase play in this last 5-10 minutes.
I don't mind George Martin doing that, but he's got to tell Cunningham South on his inside that he's going, because 3 England players were there to deal with the initial problem.
Use.
You can't just drift without telling the guy on the inside.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
What can Japan do now? A little bit of pace on the ball. Game's opened up a little bit, which will suit them.
Curran, seen a great deal from him. They really haven't had enough meaningful possession for him to make an imprint on the game from fly half.
Stop. Stop, players, hold it.
Matsunaga's clearance. And good to see the fight and the character from this Japanese side, this very inexperienced Japanese side. And for those of you who were following Japan through their own World Cup in 2019, those extraordinary days when they beat Scotland the day after the typhoon in Yokohama, the win over the Irish, the win over Samoa, booking their place as the first Asian quarter-finalist at a World Cup. You might be wondering just what's happened to them subsequently. They've played very little rugby between those 2 World Cups in 19 and 23. They just lost their momentum. England creating space for Roebuck. Clear run to the line, 1 man to beat. Cuts in field, brought down, maybe a little high. England recycling quickly, and Randall is held. Extraordinary commitment here from the Japanese defence. Look for all money as if Roebuck was home and hosed. Earl wrestles forwards, has to squeeze the ball back though.
Stay back, hands back. Advantage.
Japan offsides, and the try scored anyway.
Try is good, all momentum.
Well, England's best
Try is good.
attack off a line out here. Very reminiscent of something that Finn Smith might have called for his Northampton Saints team. This is how they tend to play. Ollie Lawrence leading the charge off the back. Ben Earl, great hands to Finn Smith, who loves this, and he's a master at getting the ball in and out of his hands as quickly as possible, but more importantly, giving a target for his winger to run onto. Roebuck just gets caught there, can't quite get to the line himself. And it's Cowan-Dickie again, who stays low, as we mentioned before, eyes to the line, nearly dislodged the ball as he went over. But he's so strong in those low positions, Cowan-Dickie.
Another good kick from Marcus Smith, Ali, but just the pass, like you said, Ben, from Finn Smith is absolutely on the money. Roebuck doesn't have to break stride at all, and the timing of it's lovely. They hold the midfield. Look at the way he just slides it across, and Roebuck just can arc his way to the outside, and he's at full tilt. He doesn't have to stop back, doesn't have to step inside. On the money. Great cover defence from Japan, by the way. But that's how you get to the outside of a defensive line. Good handling skills.
And the ball hasn't gone 10 from the restart again from Japan.
The other thing you see from that angle, which is really important to any kids watching at home, is how he manages to keep his shoulders completely square down the pitch. So none of the defenders can leave early. Because he's square on, no one can drift on him early. which means those players on the outside have to stay. Those players right in front of him have to stay. And they're all concertinaed up, so they can't bounce early out to get towards Roebuck. Something New Zealand are exceptional at. Everyone throwing their passes, but keeping their bodies facing straight down the field, shoulders square, holding defenders and preserving the space for the wingers on the outside.
Goes without saying, Ben, as well, doing that really helps when the ball is thrown out in front of you so you can run onto it, and that is something that Northampton really do specialise in, the crispness of their handling. And as we see George Martin make way for Nick Ezekwe in the second row for England, packing down alongside his club teammate Maro Itoje.
Set.
Finsmith to the line, Lawrence. Randall away, Earl. Looking to exploit some tired Japanese bodies at this point. Perhaps Curry keeps it alive. Here's Opoku for Jaw. A little bit loose, but Cowan-Dickie's there.
A little pirouette there in the middle, didn't he?
Space in the backfield, which Randall has seen.
Nice kick, well executed. Just a shame it wasn't a 50-22 for him.
Just the wrong side of halfway, wasn't he?
Back.
Matsuoka's delivery. Up gets Ezekwe to spoil possession. Baxter. Lawrence going backwards to go forwards. Freeman looking for work, looking for the ball now. Earl shot down by Himeno. Finsmith to the kick pass, and Roebuck in some space, looking to back himself with a big fens. Through he goes now. Thought he was in a moment ago, but now Tom Roebuck has his first international try.
That's really opening up for England now, and Tom Roebuck, the man that can finish, delighted to be getting so much space in those wide channels. He's got plenty of width here, but the trajectory of the kick. Marcus Smith in a hurry to get this over the sticks. It's the trajectory of the kick that's just perfect for Roebuck to attack.
There's that stolen line out that started it all, Ben. Ezekwe gets up. Randall's definitely tried to up the pace of the game since he's been on, hasn't he? He's achieved that. But I was going to show you actually exactly what Finsmith was looking at. He comes around the corner, he knows that Roebuck's out there, but he just looks at how wide the Japanese defensive line is. He spots that last defender. Akinbulla on the outside is a little bit tight. Gives him the confidence to put the kick in.
Ben Earl stopped in his tracks by Uli Viti, but penalty's gone Japan's way here.
Leave it go. Okay.
Another touch
On the line, one,
for the Japanese from 5 metres out.
Take the line. Line's yours, lads. Push. Line, push. On the line. Move over. Line.
Inside the final 10 minutes. Matsuoka picks out Uli Viti.
The 5. Through the middle.
And Itoje's done a very good job there.
Lead 19, lead.
Fujiwara
Fires through the middle.
is
Use
being
it.
held. Itoje is just making an absolute menace of himself. Very effectively from an England perspective.
Back. Use.
Japan in possession though, with another advantage.
Pelivan is 9.
Big tackle from Kawandiki. Quick ball though again for the Japanese. McCurran sending it as wide as he can. Always
Back, lads, offside.
a free play.
In contrast to the pass I was talking about with Smith, you could see what he was doing. He turned towards the sideline, really wound up his pass, and England's defensive line just drifted. And he had to put a little bit too much onto it. He'll get another shot, come back for the advantage.
Same position. On the line, England.
Once again to the catch and drive.
Just don't close it, lads. They're not going to stop it again. On the line.
Plan being hatched. So a delay on the input.
Let's play.
On the call.
Advantage.
Forwards from Tatafu.
Let's let it move.
Bit of inexperience there from Japan, allowing England to close the gap really sufficiently to just put the throw off.
Knock on the line, scrum England.
In the end, the back of the line out, I just say, get it in. Tatafu's like, throw the ball, mate, just chuck it.
Time off, hook her down.
Dicky needing a little bit of repair work. I was mentioning the
last couple of
issues that the Japanese have had in recent times in terms of building on all the interest that they created in 2019. They held the most fantastic tournament for the World Cup back then. They've got their own domestic league, of course, which is very attractive, offering big salaries for limited numbers of matches. It's all backed by major corporations. And they've got a large player pool. Some 125,000 registered rugby players in Japan. 3,500 rugby clubs. So you'd like to think
They've got the raw
the
materials.
future would be bright.
They really have got the raw materials, haven't they, in terms of numbers?
Bind.
Numbers and finance, which is a rarity in the rugby industry, as we know. Scrum penalty is England's.
He's gone to his knee.
Fair to say the atmosphere is slightly different towards the end of this game than it has been the last 3 weeks. Everything on a knife edge. England obviously well out in front. Crowd enjoying themselves. But there'll still be that underlying feeling that this is just Japan.
This is true. Naikambula racing onwards. He's gone directly into Curry, who went down and was a little bit slow getting to his feet. Fujiwara, the delay on the pass.
Release.
And
Red
Maro
release.
Itoje seems to be growing in terms of his influence on proceedings as well now. Out of the back it comes, a bouncing ball, very often so dangerous.
Forward.
Tatafu, that was clearly forwards.
Scrum.
I
Forward,
think there might be a few English fans there actually booing the decision. Want to see a flowing game, it is clearly forward. Again, look how tight Roebuck is as the last defender. He's a good 25 metres from his touchline, so if they do get round you, your fastest guy's got a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, don't go to your knee. Stay up. Go on in, England, let's don't waste time, let's line back up. You're missing your 6.
Ellis Genge still keen to see that intensity of the set piece.
Krantz!
We talked about finishing strong. Good sides would be really, really ruthless in these circumstances. Properly put the hammer down in the last few moments. Else we do wonder exactly what England will have achieved at the end of today. So hard to measure against a team of this nature. They're going to win by plenty, but they were expected to win by plenty. And until, frankly, they go to Dublin in the opening game of the Six Nations, we're not going to know exactly where England are, because there's no question they've gone in reverse this autumn from the summer.
Yeah, some pluses, some minuses, largely actually defence-based. Conceded 2 tries, 3 in the other 3 games today. Missed a lot of tackles still today, but equally there's been some nice bits, like passes like that.
21 stop. Good. Yeah,
Smith driving England forwards ever onwards into the Japanese 22. One more assault on the Japanese try line. Ben, time for your player of the match.
It's a tough one today because there's not really been any standout performance. Finn Smith's, I think, made a drastic difference since he came on. Ben Earl, some of his link play's been really good, as usual, output in terms of work rate, but probably just for his try, where he dropped it onto his toe, finished it off. I'm going to give it to the Autumn Nations Series player of the match, to Ollie Slightholme.
Such a classy finish, wasn't it? Last week, his first start. And I mentioned his dad, John, scored 4 tries in 12 caps back in the mid-90s. And Ollie has already equalled his old man.
Should make Christmas Day fun.
Release!
Let's hope he gets one more in the last 3 minutes, just to dry up the turkey.
Randall being manhandled. Toji, bit of width. Finn Smith dabs it through, and the cover is strong from Kajimura.
Still alive, still alive, still alive.
I think it'll be interesting, Ali. There'll be a lot of speculation, won't there, now over the Christmas period into January about what will that England team look like to start the game over in Dublin. Undoubtedly, this guy is going to be in it. The big question is where, for me, because I think he offers so much in space, but sometimes, like you said, Ben, Finn Smith coming on in the 10 shirt has just given them a little bit of structure, and maybe that's what they need in their attacking game. Defensively, they have to bin the blitz defence. It has to go if they want a chance in the Six Nations. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a midfielder, Lawrence and Freeman, either.
Army got 17.
Well, abandoning the Marcus Smith project at 10 would be a big old departure for Steve Borthwick, having invested so many test matches in it to this point. Also, I'd raise the question, if he's playing 10 for Harlequins every week, are you happy deploying him at 15 in white?
But you're not abandoning the 10 thing, you're just putting another 10 on. He can still go and play 10, he can still go and play first receiver on numerous occasions. And then when you go to a multi-phase, which is a game England are trying to play, super fast ruck speed, normally if you're doing that, you can't always have your first playmaker in position all the time, and it might make life easier for the forwards.
It's the Beauden Barrett thing, isn't it? Barrett now back playing 10 for New Zealand, but we saw him playing 15 for so long as that second playmaker. I guess the only thing is around that kicking battle, particularly over in Dublin, what England might expect if Marcus Smith is back there.
Doesn't matter.
But Finn Smith has looked really, really good. We know what a quality player he is. Equally, Marcus Smith has been one of the high points of England's performances.
I think that's the thing to bear in mind, isn't the high points. Let's give a few ticks in the box. I think Slightholme's been very, very good. I think, like you said, Marcus Smith has been the focal point for everyone. The pack have been largely competitive, but they haven't been dominant in certain areas. They haven't carried overly well, but I think in terms of the strategy and the tactics, they haven't made life easy for the pack. Cunningham South, I think, has had a good Automation series, but there's still a lot of room for improvement and a lot of time to do it.
Japan still pouring forwards with the clock bearing down on 80. Himeno with one more carry.
Thank you.
Good drive beyond the 22, but they've stripped possession here, England, and working it now through Freeman. Maybe there's one more flourish. Instead, it's one more
that's
drop.
not going to be England.
And
That's
that is
the
it. Game over. And after 5 straight defeats for England, finally a win. At times, little more than a training run, if we're honest. And overall, an autumn that's thrown up many more questions than answers. But despite this being very much a work in progress, they'll head to the Six Nations in much happier mood. 9 tries to Japan's 2. And smiles even from Eddie Jones. Full time at the Allianz Stadium at Twickenham. England 59, Japan 14.
Yeah, as you said, we were never, England were on a bit of a hiding to nothing today anyway, whatever they did. If they'd won by 80 points, no one would have batted an eyelid. If they hadn't played well and they'd only won by a smallish margin, people would have been questioning them. So what Steve Borthwick, with hindsight, would have given to have played this game first, give himself a little bit of flow to his attacking play before he went into the might of a New Zealand, Australia, South Africa autumn series. But they were the cards that were dealt. England had to deal better with them. As Austin said before, sliding doors moments that kick goes over against New Zealand. It could have changed everything for England. Big win first up, then into Australia. But that's what happened. England haven't quite managed to deliver what they wanted to. They would have seen at least 3 out of 4 victories as imperative here, I'm sure. Now puts a lot of pressure on them heading into that huge first game of the Six Nations.
Yeah, I agree. It's difficult to know what to expect from England when they come up against Ireland, because Ireland, by their own admissions, haven't had the easiest autumn either. So that opening game of the Six Nations now is going to be fascinating for so many different reasons. I thought Japan actually were quite good value in certain parts of the play, around the midfield, some of the tip on, some of the invention. And we know what Eddie Jones does. He breaks the status quo. He's removed a lot of their experienced guys that we saw at the World Cup. It's the 35 caps is their most capped player playing today. This side's only going to get better and more competitive, but equally they're quite good to watch.
Well, a return to Twickenham for Eddie Jones, renewing old friendships. And an England team, at least with smiles on their faces after a particularly testing campaign. They've put a decent body of work together at times, sporadically. But actually, maybe, Ben, the only thing that matters here today is simply that they got the victory and they've put an end to the narrative of the constant defeats. Psychologically, that is very significant. So one of the brightest moments of the afternoon, the evening, was Ollie Slightholme's score. He's our player of the match, and here he is.
Ollie, congratulations. Not just a longed-for victory, but a compelling one. What pleased you most about that 80 minutes?
I think we put on the pitch what we've been wanting to put on the pitch, and we really kept our foot on the throat and sort of put them to the sword, and I think we can be proud of that.
Well, you mentioned that so much has been made of England's inability this autumn to close out games, but as you said, foot on the throat, pedal to the metal, and it looks like you're opening up and enjoying yourselves in the final quarter. Did it feel that way to you?
Yeah, I think we always enjoy it when we're out here, and for this crowd, you're always going to enjoy playing rugby, and like you say, the results haven't gone our way the last few weeks, and we've been trying to get them right, and this week we got our foot down and we got those wrongs that we had from the other weeks.
What has it been like inside the camp? Because it has been a difficult campaign. This is your first win with a rose on your chest. How have you pulled together as a group? What's it been like inside?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've stayed positive because there's been lots of good stuff. There's been lots of not so good stuff that we're working on, but there's also been lots of good stuff and lots of positives to take from the performances.
On a personal level, your fourth try in England colours, that pulls you level with your dad. You've got to bring that up over Christmas dinner, right?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, many congratulations. A brilliantly taken try, and you are, of course, our Autumn Nations Series player of the match.
Ollie Slightholme's score, very much a highlight this afternoon, Ben, and Steve Borthwick talking in advance of this contest, wanting to see a clear identity, to play with speed, keep that ball movement good, and to finish off games. He has done all those things. So in terms of the basic aims of this afternoon, here and now, boxes ticked.
Yeah, he has, and hard against Japan, who want to play fast and free, so he didn't want to open it up too early. He wanted to use the power game, but all things considered, as I said, on a bit of a hiding to nothing, and England have ticked that box onto bigger and better things, hopefully for the Six Nations.
I wonder if we're going to see the changing of the guard a little bit. We've seen the change in this style of play from the tight kick